You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jourdan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Boom! That's exactly it. Do that. Let's do that. Hey! My man, Chris Stone, back from, you were at some sort of podcast, crazy rock star, in your face world.
I think that's the new name of it. You just now have renamed social
mean,
media marketing world.
Yes.
But back from San Diego. It is. It's the world. Yeah, they incorporated world. We're all just international now. We're all global, even though it was very difficult for those outside of the U.S. to get in to the U.S. Still, you would think at this point, it wouldn't be hard, but understandable. And my body's still a little bit on West Coast time. I can't get to sleep.
Longer. It takes longer than you would think to overcome that thing, unless you are the Deej who gets up at 3:30 anyhow, so it doesn't matter. I started used to be 4:30. I upped it to 3:30. Why? I saw an interview with Kid Rock. Kid Rock.
Oh, Bob Ritchie. I went to high school with Bob Ritchie.
Did you really?
I'm not kidding you.
Name? Really?
Yeah, his name is Bobby. Well, he Bob Ritchie now, but when he was in high school, it was Bobby.
He was Bobby?
He was Bobby Ritchie. Yeah.
So
Romeo High School, Romeo, Michigan, 32 Mile and Van Dyke, baby.
Unbelievable. I mean, I the longer I know you, and I keep finding out new things about you. You and Robert Ritchie are best friends now, and so now we got to get him on the show.
You know who else was on the show before? DressTheMan.com, Mark Fonseca. He apparently is giving you some shirt shame right now.
Well, this is what happened. So he made my shirts, but my wife went to the lake last week. She was gone all week. And then she came back and she took everything to the dry cleaners. So now I got, as we say in Yiddish, I got goonish, I tell you. I got goonish for shirts. And so I decided I'm wearing old school stuff. But thank you so much for noticing, Mark Fonseca. While you're at it, why don't you just give me a paper cut and pour some lemon juice in it, huh?
Yes, that's right. And Fonseca knows all about the D. That's right. Don't call it D-Town. Don't call it Detroit. Fonseca knows all about the D for sure. But thanks for the shirt shame. That's the way to start off every show. So Mark, you just join, and I share the shame. God bless you from Roughwick. Hi, how are you doing? Appreciate you joining. And so everyone on all the tubes, we are here to talk about IT sales in 2022. And if there's anybody that needs IT help, it is the Deej. So Dan, where did you meet John and our guest today?
Well, we're going to bring him on. So this is the thing. I have come to learn that if you want to make big money in the world, you got to sell something that you can make once and then keep selling it over and over and over again, which is the IT world. So this is why, people in the IT, because this is why they can get such high commissions. This is why I can do the whole thing. The challenge is that people think that because that it's an IT thing and it's very technical, that they have to sell it that way. And so I met a guy who hooked me up with a company that I'm working with right now. And I'm like, man, this guy has the whole the kit and caboodle. He has personality and not just the kit, but the caboodle. He has
caboodle gets the confetti.
He has personality and with technical stuff, and he's very detailed. So I said, man, we need to learn from you. So please, let's bring him on board. Without any further ado, please help me welcome my new friend, Jourdan Curnutt.
Hello.
Let's go, Braves.
I will take the introduction all day long.
There he is. So I'll take the Curnutt. I appreciate you for coming, even if you are in the witness protection program over there in your dark studio.
I will take it. So
yeah. But we got it all hooked up. I appreciate you coming on. And listen, listen, all you salespeople out there, you may or may not know this, but the reason you got into sales is because you get excited about the unknown. See, most people don't live in the unknown. Most people are too scared to try the unknown. But if you're in sales every day, you're reaching a new kind of something, some new person you've never met before, you've never met before. You know, that's where the excitement is in your life. And so this is John's first time doing a podcast like this live and in color. So give him some confetti for that, because it takes some bravery to do that.
You never have to ask twice for confetti, John. That's rule number one on Dan Jourdan Live. You ask for confetti, you will always get confetti.
I appreciate it. We just keep that going the entire show.
Yeah,
right.
It's the whole thing. So I appreciate. So let me ask you this, John. So you're like a sales consultant now? You help people, or you help IT companies or grow? Tell me your shtick.
So I think it comes down to, as a salesperson, it is enabling a sales group, individual. So working with sales individuals to discover more within the process of conversation and what the dialogue of engagement is. So
all right.
I've worked with companies on helping not only sales teams, but also what is the process and how do you increase the pipeline, but doing that through engagement.
So what do you mean by engagement? Because I mean, I that's talking to somebody is engagement. But talking to people don't necessarily pay the bills. So what do you mean by engagement?
That is true. So when you're looking at the normal process of sales pipeline, how do you manage? How do you your niche is cold calling. How do you improve the outreach and getting someone hooked on conversation? And what are you approaching them with? It comes down to discovery and details. What is that individual looking for, and how do you then engage them? So, like, what are the tidbits you're giving them? What is the conversation you're starting? At the end of the day, people engage with people they enjoy speaking to. Obviously, you bring a lot of personality.
Yes. Well, you know what? That's good. And I tell you, I learned something from you guys. So I met John with this company, Stellar Software, who sells booking software to marinas, which is really cool. So it's like Airbnb, but for boats. If you go out and rent a boat.
Up and coming, and COVID has obviously magnified that industry.
And what I learned from them is, because I'm really good at engaging people in order to to find out what they're doing and all that stuff. But what I learned from this company is, in people in that industry, when you're dealing with selling IT or anything to a small business or an owner of a company, someone who gets a lot of sales calls and understand this stuff, people like myself and them who own their own thing are very bristling. You bristle with the mere thought of being cornered. It being trapped. And what I found, and I learned this from your company, John, Curnutt. I don't know, did everybody call you Curnutt in high school?
Yes.
Yeah.
So and so here's the funny thing, is in the professional world, it's almost humorous to me. So you pronounce it Curnutt, it's German. And so no one will enunciate the appropriate areas. So I've seen it spelled about 5 different ways. So for me, it's actually, I think, light in conversation. Yeah. To your point of how to use it as icebreakers, how to use it as engaging people at a different level. Is making them
That's
more
exactly
comfortable
right.
in the conversation.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So that's what I do with the Deej. But so once you engage that and you talk to them, I find out that instead of going for the yes, like, wouldn't you like to earn more money type of thing, that is a trap, because you say, of course I like to earn more money, and now they're going to put you into thing. I learned from your guys, man, go negative very, very quickly. So when you go, the question that you ask, you kind of want to get a no. Like, would it be ridiculous for me to assume that the reason why you're even looking at booking software is you want to reduce phone calls? Like, would that be ridiculous? No, that's not ridiculous. That's actually why. I found from your guys, by going negative, you really can engage people a lot quicker. Don't go for the yes. Go for the no, which allows you to keep moving. Would it be crazy for us to want to set up a demo with this new information?
Right. Well, I think too, part of the sales, when we talk about engagement, part of the conversation is getting someone to in a comfortable position where you have true dialogue. Where are you challenging and strategically doing so the position of how they operate, and how do you help make their business better? Because as a salesperson, at the end of the day, you're wanting to help deliver improvement in some manner.
That's right.
It is a point of contention with a lot of people. They don't want to talk about things that they aren't doing well. They want to talk about what's going in the right direction. But I look at that as the process of discovery. And if you're going to find mutual benefit at the end of the day, that's what really should drive everyone, is getting mutual benefit within a relationship.
Well, so what do you do when the people don't even know that they have a problem?
That's where I think diving into, very refined points. So a lot of my conversations, I like to focus on one or two elements. Like, if you try to go in more, you're not accomplishing the conversation. So if you focus on one or two things, then you can identify what fits within that ecosystem, because you're diving into something that, one, is replicatable. And at the end of the day, businesses want to be able to finely tune what they're doing. So,
are you? Is this more? Is this more for people who are calling in, or so? Is this more on the sales side or the marketing side?
I think
because
sales.
In the sales
marketing can be attributable to sales. So, for instance, Stellar is an organization I've worked with in their management, and it is a component that has been heightened by the pandemic, by the environment of change, but it's also an industry that is, I think, catching up to the pace. So a lot of my career has been spent in technology, whether it's data intelligence or marketing automation. Some of that went into the entertainment industry. So if you look at mobile ticketing, that is a component that probably over 10 to 12 years has slowly acclimated to not only what the consumer demand is, but also technology development. And
I'll tell you what you haven't you sold in the past: audio. Your microphone is screaming.
That is very true. Sensitive ears, right, Dan?
That's it.
Yeah, he's too busy getting boats booked in the marina. I mean, so I'm curious about this software. If you don't mind, obviously the pandemic and boats and pools, like some of these industries, hockey stick, extreme hockey stick. So tell us about the software that you're using. What's the name of it again?
So Stellar Software. So I have I've been the CEO. So I work with them as an advisor in how their sales team is engaging prospects, or internally, how do you improve process? And so as I look at that, I'll have different roles with them, with other organizations, on how do you look at process of the sales engagement and how do you improve it? So identifying how you use a CRM system better, how do you maximize the audio capabilities, and what do you then deliver to improving the process of engagement. So for Dan, for instance, it was recognizing, okay, his specialty is how do you improve cold calling? How do you improve the maximization of that? And so for me, it's macro strategy in looking at the overall sales process. How do you then break that down? And what are the areas that you work with a team of individuals? You have personalities. How do you work with them to improve upon their skill sets?
Yeah. So
everyone gets I think, hesitant doing cold calls in general. I remember a LinkedIn study about a year or so ago, and it was sent out to, it was a group of CEOs that I was following. I think over 85% of the audience said they get nervous making cold calls, even after being in an industry for 20 plus years.
Right. Yeah. Now, even if the product is markedly better, I remember a million years ago, slightly less than a million years ago, but like Sprint was coming out just then, or MCI or whatever it was, but kind of a phones that you didn't need a landline anymore. They were basically renting the lines from AT&T. Used to be AT&T would give you a phone. Like everybody had the same yellow or green phone. I'm pointing to the wall here because that's where it was. And basically you would get a phone and then all that stuff. And so MCI or whatever came out, literally cut the price in half, but you had to get your own phone. And it was like, it's the best deal in the world. You didn't have to worry about long distance anymore. You don't have to call your grandmother after 8:00 on Sunday when the rates went down. You didn't have to do all that stuff. It was like so much markedly better than what you have previously with the same voice quality. And you still had to sell it. People didn't want it. It was something new. It was something crazy to change. And so in the Stellar software, in that boat marina business that you were talking about, even that, there's a process to sell it because it's a business like no other. Because every time you rent something, it's like, there's no lines, there's no in the water. It's like nobody keeps their lanes in the water.
For a little bit of like deeper understanding in what they do. So if you imagine you're, on Lake Lanier in Georgia, or you're in Orlando and you're on vacation, it gives the capability to a marina operator, those places you're going to drive on interstate, et cetera, et cetera. It is allowing a consumer to search for that inventory online, even potentially on a mobile device, and be able to book it in an instant. So, being able to identify inventory, whether it's a speedboat, a pontoon, a kayak, etc. You can go on and on to what consumers are looking to do for in the outdoor space, where marina operators over the years have not been able to put that inventory online in an efficient manner. So Stellar has been able to centralize that capability to improve how operators, marina locations are able to, one, list it, to reach consumers, and then give them a rental experience in a very few amount of clicks. So if you think of anything we do online, if I was on Amazon last night and I'm buying something, you're typically buying something maybe like, we'll say 5 or 6 clicks. So Stellar has really capitalized that marketplace to reduce how often a consumer has to click on inventory, pricing, etc., and being able to transact a purchase. And they have been able to excel within that marketplace of, when I say centralized, putting an image on a screen and allowing consumers to say, yeah, that fits what I want. Let me go ahead and reserve that. Whereas a lot of the shopping browsers, you'll have open multiple windows. Right. Everyone knows that can be annoying. So it's, how do you identify a marketplace and improve upon the capabilities for the consumer experience, but in a B2B fashion for marina operators?
Yeah, isn't it incredible about how everything has become so driven towards the consumer? And it used to be like you had to have a website, right? And so get yourself up on the interwebs and have your business be up on the interwebs. And so these marinas, they would have a website. But it was, it's like the worst dead end of any website is call for quote, right? call for a quote is like,
yeah.
Run away. Like it's the worst possible thing ever. It's like, put your prices and give consumers options to select what they can do, even if they can't fully go with the transaction and do everything. That's the, that's what you absolutely want to do. But even if you can get them far down the line and say, this company has exactly what I want, it's available, and maybe you have to make a call at that point, or maybe you have to do something else at that point, but at least it's not some ethereal thing behind this wall that you have to jump into somebody's funnel in order to get.
Yeah. And well, if I could just jump in, what I want the people out there to listen to understand this is that you might think in your business that that's not appropriate. No, I need to talk to everybody for all this. I'm telling you, two things happens. One, there's ways to avoid all the inconveniences that you think you're going to have by somebody doing it online. There's ways to do all those things. And secondly, it's the way people like to shop now. And people are in bed at 9:30, and they're looking around, they're tooling around, and they're booking vacations, and they're doing all, man, they don't want. My wife will not, if she has to go and talk to somebody, she'll pick another place, like to order something. In fact, when she goes to pick stuff up, she likes to pick stuff up like at restaurants that have those little cubby holes, so she doesn't even have to talk to a human behind the counter. She just goes in and takes it. I'm making her sound like a real antisocial monster, which she kind of is in certain ways. I don't like that certain. I don't know what it is.
I hope she doesn't watch or listen.
Maybe that's why she's attracted to me, but because of opposites. But you're opening yourself up, your industry, whatever it is, you can open yourself up to a whole new group of people that are secretly avoiding you because they don't want to talk to you.
Well, and I think too, when you look at like what's the growing trend in technology and the consumer markets. So obviously in the last 12, 24 months, especially with our environment, DoorDash, Uber has been the I'm a huge fan of Lyft. I'm watching a series on Uber now from Jourdan. But when you look at that consumer demand, everything is shifting to a mobile environment. So how are traditional environments evolving to keep track and updates with the industry itself? And I think that is, to Dan's point of like, okay, it's one thing to get someone on the phone. It's another to replicate that same conversation in an environment of new age technology, whether it's a mobile device, an iPad, etc. Being mobile is what allows us to empower that conversation, because you look at data at the end of the day. Every business, whether it is a pizza shop on the corner, is driven on data at some point.
Yeah. That's it. I see, changing the world here on DJ Live. That's what it is. But you're feeling so inadequate. So do you help companies do that? Like, can you help a company who is in the business? I'll use my son's business as an example. He has a junk removal and land clearing business, and his website. I'm sorry?
I said, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, and so his business is very much call me or text me, and call and text us, and we'll give you a price for all this, and we'll come out and quote her to take a picture of what have you. Is that the type of business that can be? And there are places that you book. Here's the question, because he's worried about doing the booking thing online with just pressing that, because generally you get the price shoppers and not the good jobs and things like that. So are there ways to avoid that?
Yeah, I think at any level you can look at optimizing how you, one, find customers, and two, how you interact with them. I would say most of what I have done is looking at sales teams and how do you look at the process of engagement of outreach. So from a personality perspective, we may have 3 different personalities in play right now. Well, each of those is going to have unique components in outreach. And how do you maximize those skill sets based on the personality, but being able to relate to the individual you're talking to? So even if you look at a small medium business, how do you then become more relatable to the consumers you're trying to reach?
Oh, okay. Well, so do you do that disc thing? Is that your wheelhouse?
The disc thing, please
Yeah.
clarify.
The disc personality test.
Oh,
yeah, that's
so
like a big thing.
I will be honest. I do not like personality assessments.
Oh, really? So then, how do you know how different people relate to different?
I think that a lot of that is based on feel, of like just the conversation, being able to adapt on the fly. If, for your instance, like, okay, if you bring that point up, you can dive further into a subject without being an expert in that field. A lot of that is engagement. Like, where is the conversation flow go to? And that's what I define as discovery. Is it's leaning more into the topic of conversation with an individual. But yeah, I think when you look at personality assessments, I have been characterized myself as an introvert extrovert. So
An introvert extrovert.
So I'm engaging when conversation happens. I can continue a dialogue, but at the same time, I will also want to retreat at some point and recharge.
Well,
I consider myself a size extra medium.
Yes, that's right.
So
There you go.
sometimes I fit into a medium, sometimes I fit into a large. So I'm extra medium.
Do you think that introverts who makes better salespeople, introverts or extroverts?
Oh,
That's a tough question.
Well, listen, I'm not. It's not supposed to be easy here. This is DJ.
Extrovert. It's a matter of what the success is from there and how you engage.
ooh.
So I might manage introverts in a different way than I do extroverts.
Yeah,
because you can
but by manage, what do you mean? I mean, help them succeed.
Yeah. So on a daily basis, how are you engaging them as individuals to help their productivity on a daily basis?
All right. Well,
so here's a softball, John.
Yeah.
Dan, introvert or extrovert?
I'm gonna go with a solid introvert on that one.
Yeah, but I do. Well, you talked about needing to recharge. I was talking to my mother this past weekend, and she reminded me of something. She goes, you used to go away on weekends alone and go camping by yourself. Like I need to be by myself to recharge too. I forgot about that, but I used to just get away because I didn't have to always be on. Here's my thing with introvert and extrovert. Who makes a better salesperson? Oh, Mark Fonseca talking metrics. You're in trouble when they're talking metrics. Here's my thing. Being an introvert or being an extrovert or being scared to make cold calls or anything like that is no match for desire. If your desire to succeed in anything, even ability, is no match for desire. If your desire is great enough, you'll figure out a way according to your own personality. You'll seek out the right help. So that's my little pitch right there. So what does Fonseca have to say?
What are the metrics around the effectiveness of selling, a closing, or building relationships? F to F? What's F to F?
Fallopian tube to figment.
I'm sorry, John. What was it?
Face to face.
Face to face. Oh, okay. I got to get up on my my internet acronyms. BRB. What are the metrics around the effectiveness of selling, closing, building relationships face to face or virtually? Good question. Analytics.
I'm curious to hear what Dan would say to this.
Believe me, I'll talk, but you're the expert.
But I will say it's consistency of touch points and what that looks like. So touch points has changed when you look at the meaning of what a touch point is, and we get back to the word engagement. Social media, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is becoming one of the most utilized social platforms in general, not just in business, because since Microsoft acquired it years back, it has continued to evolve how that is used. So it's, are you reaching out on mobile device? Are you calling? Are you texting? Texting has become a more natural way to communicate in the sales cycle for businesses as well. Like now you can go and, if you're a medium-sized business, you can get a platform that's centered on text communications. You can do the same thing for a mom-and-pop restaurant. That's evolved over the last year. So I think how you consistently track that and look at the purity of the engagement, and then a lot of people will use the term scoring.
Would use the word what?
So I think it's scoring.
Oh,
and not scoring the way you think it is.
What's the quantitative outreach for that?
Yeah, that's when you consummate the relationship.
Yes. No, but I think it's true. It's like, a lot of people will say, right. A lot of people will say, oh, well, millennials, are more comfortable in texting, and Gen Z are more comfortable. And so people want to put things into boxes, but, there's outliers, right? And so you have to be able to make the determination when you're building a relationship, whether it starts on LinkedIn or whether it starts, in some sort of, email or however the outreach is happening. At some point, a human being is, or hopefully some really great software is going to be able to determine, okay, this prospect likes to spend their time in and is more comfortable trusting you in this particular space, and then being able to determine that and then start going down that pathway, as opposed to saying, well, this person is a millennial, so we have to approach them this way, just like all millennials, right? It still takes, as great as the software is, as great as the AI is, it still takes a human to go in there and massage at least the outliers if you're going to have a better batting average, I guess. And just going back to the Braves on the back of your wall there.
Scoring.
Yes,
So,
that is a statement.
What you guys both said is terrific and a bunch of garbage. Let me tell you what it really is. Okay, so what it really is listen, 10% of the people are going to buy no matter what. They're just going into business. They're just getting started. They need insurance. They need a website. They need this. They're buyers. They're going to buy no matter what. They call in, don't call. It's like working at the post office and selling stamps. Woohoo! I just sold a 10-pack. I mean, they came in for stamps. You're not selling there. And then there's 10% on the bottom that just hate you, don't want to buy, there's no chance or forever, and all that stuff. The 80% in the middle, you by the way, you can make a living making enough dials, making enough calls, talking to enough people on the top 10%. You can make $30,000-$40,000 in commission. You can play around in that area and you can make a living. But if you work the 80% in the middle, baby, you can earn a fortune. But you have to do there what that 80% in the middle is people saying, you know what, I'm all set with what I got. I'm happy with what I'm using right now. We've been doing it this way for so long. I don't really. Those people, you know what that's called? Yeah. That's called selling. That's called sales. That's called having fun. That's called building relationships. And the way to do it, so the top 10%, you could do with text. You could do with whatever you want to do. They've come to you for the offer. I mean, I can get business from anybody. Free $100, just reply. Done. So it's content with what you're putting out that's going to get the replies. When I call people, this is my pitch to get callbacks. Hey, I want to, like, if boat rental companies, something we'll talk about boat rental. This is my pitch. Hey, this is Dan. If you can give me a call back, I'm calling in regard to a boat rental. My number is 678-9. Done. And so they think they're going to sell me something, so they're going to call me back. That's the perfect thing, the way to do it, to engage. But for the actual sales part, the 80%, the where you really can earn your money and really make a difference, it doesn't matter how you want to communicate. It's how they want to receive the communication. So if they want to see you, you go see them. If they want to do it, some people are very comfortable meeting in person, talking to their insurance guy or whatever in person, really uncomfortable on Zoom, really uncomfortable being on camera.
I'm not going to necessarily argue with that, but John, I'd love to know your take on that. Is that, Dan is much more of a, I'm more of a sniper.
But I could be wrong.
But Dan is more of a, throw the, like a machine gun approach to a lot. And I'd much rather, hopefully build trust. Not that Dan is not a trustworthy gentleman, but I know when I'm being funnel pounded by someone that that turned on the machine gun, the sales machine gun. What's your take on that as opposed to the long game versus Dan's game, which is win $100 and reply now type of deal?
Not win, just here's $100.
There's two sides of it. So I'll give you an applicable example for a project I did in the last year or so. One, there's always going to be a traditional aspect to business of like, okay, do you want to meet someone in person? Is that what it's going to take to further the relationship or the conversation, whatever the subject of content is? There's also a component of making sure you pace to keep up with that new level of engagement for the conversation. So for instance, there was a company that I worked with, and it was a project that was going on in China. I had to adapt my schedule for both the US and engaging those individuals in China. And so that shifted my work schedule, which meant it was more reliant on Zoom conversations, dialogue, some of it was chat, WhatsApp, etc. So it's, are you in the right space to have that conversation? And are you identifying that? And, for instance, if Dan and I were working on a project in a specific manner, you have to identify what's going to allow you to maximize that pathway to the conversation. So for Dan, it may be in person. I know he and I met over breakfast one time. That conversation was able to be expedited because he relies on some of that face-to-face, whereas for me, it could be text. I could get more accomplished in 5 minutes over a text, or do we need to dive in deeper? I was on a late night phone call with a sales guy the other night, and we were discussing the process of we were discussing what it looks like to go further into the discovery phase. If he was trying to close a person on a contract in the moment, but that individual through dialogue took a pause. He didn't want to, sign the contract in that moment. Versus pausing and saying, okay, well, why don't we circle back tomorrow? We'll dive into make that individual uncomfortable in the moment while they're on the phone of like, what gives you pause in executing the contract at this moment? Perhaps you can uncover something about the business. Perhaps you can uncover something about that individual and expedite that conversation in that manner.
But
that's
it's
identifying what is channel appropriate to
staying curious, staying
curious, but also lean into the conversation.
Yes, but the thing is, and I love that, but you always have to soften it up first. Why is could be a very rude thing to say if it's not softened up. I had a guy call me about insurance. It was just a cold caller, pretty terrible cold caller. But I said, listen, I thanks for calling, but I really can't talk right now. I was actually on another Zoom call, and he goes, why? Like that. One of those things where you look at the phone, I go, why? I mean, with all due respect, who are you? I mean, you just called. I actually said that to me, and you know what he said?
Do you know who you're talking to? Right?
He said, and then he said, and he goes, who the F are you? He actually cursed at me. I was like, bad, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, listen, you must be having a bad day. So I hung up on him. But he just said, why? It was rude. If he just said, hey, I totally understand. Should I call you back later, or you really just kind of say no to me in a nice way? I probably would have said, call me back, whatever. Whatever. But you got to soften it up before you just say why and dig in. So like in your case, if someone says they're not comfortable signing right now, I got it. Listen, I'm not going to let you sign anymore. We're done with that. But let me ask you this. What's giving you pause anyhow? And then you could find out.
So there's two sides of it. One, when I say, okay, lean into the why, that's for the sales rep. So to your point, Dan, it is letting the salesperson know, okay, you're trying to now uncover why is it making them uncomfortable in that moment. And to your point, it is, okay, the way you have to approach the buyer is you have to soften it. What gives you pause? Become more compassionate. Show a little empathy in the conversation. But it's also when you're working with sales group and training, coaching, etc., whatever term you want to use, you have to get more direct with them because they want to get to the punch. They want to understand what's going to lead to that action, but then they have to be able to transform in the moment of conversation to where they are showing empathy for the situation itself,
right?
And what's going to lead to that next course of action.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're over time right now. So engaging with you. You know what it was? The reason why we went over time is because I'm just so transfixed on the quality of your sound. I just can't stand it. I just want more and more.
I will take
it. Okay. So listen, that's awesome. So how do people get a hold of you if they need some training and coaching and all that stuff process?
I can give you guys my email address, LinkedIn as well. So my email address is john.curnutt@gmail.com, and then LinkedIn.
Okay, and then LinkedIn. Everybody can do that. Well, I really appreciate. Look at is Chris Stone not the world's best producer? You see that? That's quality stuff. As a man, you know, he works with 3 monitors.
Email this gentleman, join and connect with him on LinkedIn. And for the love of all that is good, get him a microphone for his next podcast.
That's right.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You
want to know how right. You want to know how Dan and I like you, John? It's because we feel comfortable busting your chops. Not just because you're a world champion Atlanta Braves fan from here in the ATL. Oh, you know what? We forgot to do, Dan, is we forgot to have a word from our sponsor.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So here we go. Today's show is brought to you by.
If your sales team sucks and you don't know what to do, call Deej 678-910-9912. Call Deej 678-910-9912.
Thank God you stuck around for that, ladies and gentlemen.
Very unique. I love it.
$5 on Fiverr. All right, listen, you guys are off, and Chris Stone, thank you so much once again for making everything happen. For all you people hanging out there, just remember this. Listen, a sale doesn't happen until you get your first no. You're not really in the game until you get your first no. That's how you know you got somebody interested. You wouldn't believe how many times I had to ask John Curnutt to come on before he finally agreed. You know, I was practicing my skills on hit. You're the best. I'm the Deej. Go get him today, guys.
Go get him.